lattes in that job.
All right, so it looks like Waylon may not be going to Indiana. It looks like we may have to take a different vehicle with us up there. I'm not sure what yet. Here's the reality of the situation. I have a few things. I only have a few things left to do to make it ready, but I have 5 days to get the wagon ready to do power tour with, and I have not touched a single bolt on it. So I have to work on the wagon some, and somewhere in this pile here is the parts for the wagon. Somewhere. So what I'm going to have to do is basically take a break on Waylon. So I'm going to have to set the hood back on it, set him back on the ground, and it's going to have to go outside, and the wagon's got to come in because we got 5 days to get the wagon ready for a road trip across the southeast with power tour. It's a shame. We were pretty close to being done on this, but you know, it is what it is. There's nothing we can do about it. We just got to move on. Could we throw this thing together today? Yes, if we wanted to spend an astronomical amount of money just buying all new everything to finish, but we don't want to lose sight of the ultimate goal of this, which is to show you a budget build. We showed you on the paper the other day, we still have less than $3,000 in this entire truck right now. We don't want to screw that up. We want this thing to be done for a $3,000 budget, and we're on track to do that. So bear with us on Waylon. Waylon will be coming right back after power tour, but it's going to have to wait a couple weeks now. So when working alone, one of the things that you will find out is sometimes an easy task turns into an actual job. So I got to put the hood back on, but I can't hold the hood by myself, put bolts in it and all that. So this may not be what everybody does. Some people may do something different. So what I'm going to do is pop these springs off right here, push the hinges down, and then I can just lay the hood over it because I know the hood's going to come right back off when I get it back in here to finish up some things around the motor, and it just makes it easier. So that's what I'm going to do to make it easier on me, is just pop these springs loose, let them lay down, push the hinges down on both sides, and then I can just physically lay the hood on top of it, and we're good to go. So that's how I handle it. I'm not saying you need to do it that way. I'm not even trying to suggest that that's the best way to do it. That's just the way I'm going to do it. But if you want to know, oh, by the way, I never took the sticker off of it. So if you're interested in one of these aluminum radiators, right there is the part number from Summit. It's a 384042, and you can see right there what the actual price is supposed to be for one. But it's a great radiator and it fits these trucks perfect. All right, so what do we need to do to the wagon? Well, mechanically speaking, as far as engine and transmission, it's pretty sound. Maybe an oil change, maybe a tune-up, plugs, wires, but it's pretty sound. So everything non-drivetrain related, can't even say that. Everything non-motor related is, I can't even say that. There's a lot of stuff to do. Let's look at this. What there is to do. First off, the worst part of the thing is the suspension. It kind of wallers around in the road. I have new suspension parts. We have the stuff to do that with. Up high toward the top of the gas tank, there's a little pinhole, so the gas tank leaks a little. Alternator is making a terrible noise, so I got a feeling it's on its last leg. Seats are not actually bolted down in the car. The only gauge it works is the fuel gauge. The brakes are kind of spotty. Windshield wipers don't work. But other than that, you know, ball tires. Other than that, it's ready to go. In 5 days. Now, I drive this car a lot. But to be fair, the longest trip I've ever taken it on is about 30 minutes away. So it's never really been on a long trip either. And we're about to embark on probably about a 2,000 mile road trip. So now that the hood's back on, truck's back on the ground, I have to figure out how to get outside. My wife's driving my truck, and I can't push it. I gotta come up with something here, don't I? Didn't think that one through today. Yeah. Oh, okay. We'll just have to figure something out. I'm gonna go nuts, but on the upside, freaking sounds good. You notice how when you're in a time crunch, you find more stuff to do than what you thought you had to do? At least it sounds good, you know what I mean? If it don't do anything but just sit there and idle, it sounds good at least. I got a lot of work to do. I always told y'all I'd keep it 100% real and be transparent as possible. Here's where a guy like me really falls short. I am horrible at planning. Horrible. I try to avoid it just because I know if I plan it, it's gonna be a disaster. So my wife is driving my truck today. I need to get the 63 out of the shop and get the Wagon in, but I by myself all the time. I work alone, except for the little bit of time my daughter can be here. So I have no way to get the 63 out of the garage. And my wife doesn't get off work till late this evening. She's having to work a late day today. I can't exactly tow it out of the garage because I have nobody to steer it. And yeah, it's supposed to rain here in a little while, so I can't exactly take this apart in the yard. Normally, if it was gonna be a pretty day all day today, I'd just rip this thing apart in the yard. See, what I should have done was come out here yesterday and drop the truck down on the ground, put the hood on, and pull the truck out yesterday, and then just pull this in this morning. Unfortunately, it goes back to that piss poor planning thing. Somehow, I'm always down to the last few days before I even start working on what I need for it. And I'm not sure how that happens. I would have swore until yesterday I had like 2 weeks. 2 weeks, plenty of time to get everything done. Now I'm down to 5 days, which means even if I can get everything knocked out and done in time with no issues, I still really don't have time to go on a long test drive to make sure that the rest of it's going to be okay. And weather, because I have no windshield wipers. Planning, guys. Plan. And then if you're like me, even if you make a plan, the plan falls through, you scrap the plan and you just wing it anyway. So after much out and back debate, I think this is our huckleberry. And there's a few reasons why. One, and I can't stress this one enough, piss poor planning on my part. I honestly lost track of the time, and I thought I had 2 weeks left. Turns out I only got 5 days left, and that's all on me. I am the guy that waits till the last minute to do stuff. It usually works me well, but this time not so much. So that is our huckleberry for power tour. Now, we're still going to be working on the Wagon in some upcoming episodes after power tour, because we've got to get this Wagon done and back on the street. My wife's been waiting forever to drive this thing. It's her daily, so we got to get it done. I'm a professional idiot, so but basically we're gonna do an alignment on it. I'm gonna change the oil on it and put some fluids in it. We're gonna hit the road. Started today on getting the Cougar ready. It needs a bath, it needs a bunch of things, but we're going to do a couple things first that I really need to get done for a road trip. The first thing is we're going to change the oil. This is still running the braking oil. I'm a guy that believes the braking oil should be run somewhere between 500 and 1,000 miles when you break an engine in. You should run braking oil. It's just my preference. You don't have to do that. We don't have to agree on everything. So this thing still has braking oil, and actually it's been in there a little longer than I normally leave it. I think I'm probably 1,500-ish miles on this motor right now. So I'm gonna drop the braking oil out of it, and we're gonna fill it up with some fresh oil, some good oil. At least fresh oil anyway. And then I'm going to do kind of a garage alignment on this thing, because it does need a little alignment. It pulls to the left pretty good, so I'm going to try to align it as best I can, and then we're going to drive it and see what happens. If everything kind of smooths out and everything works well, at that point we'll start doing some cosmetic stuff. We'll put some of the rest of the trim back on this car, and hopefully make something that looks presentable and functions well for power tour. And this is what we're going to use, and if we're going to go in it, then we need to make sure that we've got everything buttoned up. Most people avoid getting oil on their fingers, but I run a little bit on there just so I could look at it, smell of it, see if there's anything in the oil. Looks beautiful, looks beautiful. So just took the Cougar for a little test drive to see, you know, a mini power tour to see how it would go. I figure my estimate is each day will probably be about a 4-hour drive, and some days longer, some days shorter, but that's my estimate. So I drove around today for 5 hours. Found a couple of minor issues. Had a fuel delivery issue, which we fixed on the road. Wasn't that big a deal, but tomorrow, later this evening and tomorrow, is going to be all about rebuilding this front suspension, because it is desperately in need of it. And I should have done it before I drove it today, but I kind of wanted to see how bad it was, and you'll see in just a minute it'll be a minute for you. Maybe later tonight or in the morning for me, but You'll see in just a few minutes how bad this front suspension really is. And all the parts are here to rebuild it, so that's my agenda tomorrow, is to get this front suspension rebuilt. Yeah. So now we know. But the fact that it survived a 5-hour road trip today gives me great promise, because that's about the most it'll have to do in a day, is about 5 hours. If it does that much in a day. We're thinking about getting creative with our drives and breaking it up, and it'll probably never have to drive that far at one time, but I now know we can do 5 hours at a time if we need to. So yeah, just time to button up some maintenance things now, which include this front suspension. Okay. So as I mentioned, the test drive revealed some things. Starting out, I found a fuel leak at the pump. Not a big deal. Was able to fix that on the road. Problem solved. Secondly, I knew the suspension was terrible on the front of this car. I didn't know how bad till I drove it, and I'll show you that in a few minutes. But lastly, apparently, our brand new alternator, that was the first drive on it, is now making an absolutely terrible noise. Brand new. Yeah. Okay. So, yeah, it's still putting out good, but not real sure what's going on there. But guess I'll be digging into that to try to figure that one out. Okay, well, I wanted to check to see if the nut on front of the alternator was loose, and maybe that was causing it. Kind of a long shot. I have seen them come loose, especially with aftermarket pulleys, but it seems it's tight. It seems it's just bearing failure. Weird that you have a new alternator that completely goes to garbage. All right, so keep in mind, I'm a professional idiot, so don't do what I do. If you're gonna do stuff, do everything the right way. Wrap yourself in bubble wrap, and all the things the internet tells you. But all I'm trying to do right now is just take the tire off, and I'm gonna peek in here and look at some of the things we wanna make adjustments on, and I'm gonna show you just how bad the front suspension on this car really is right now. Keep in mind, we took this car on a 5-hour road trip yesterday. I say we, like, I had a mouse in my pocket. So on a 5-hour road trip yesterday, and really shaking things out, checking things over. And when we left the house yesterday, knowing that I have all the stuff to rebuild the suspension, I just wanted to see exactly how bad it was. Well, I had brand new tires when I left the house, and yeah, you can see that they are not so much new anymore. Matter of fact, Jesus is the only thing holding air in these tires anymore. But what we done was we worked out a new pattern. See, we've got full race mode. We've got the radials, the DOT slicks here, and we got snow tires over here. So we're working on this great new tire here. I'm gonna go ahead and roll that way over there because it pretty much looks like it's about ready to blow up my face. Yeah, there's that. So I'm gonna go ahead and get this just a little higher, put a jack stand under this thing somewhere. I think I actually have a shorter jack stand instead of these 12-ton stands that are made for rigs that, well, they weigh more. That's why they're rated for more. Ignore that big pile of fluid you see right there. That has nothing to do with this car other than the fact that I drove through it. That's from putting the transmission in Wagon and from not actually cleaning it up before I started on this. So again, I'm not in any way telling people how to do their stuff, but I can damn sure show you not what to do, what not to do. Apparently I can show you what not to say. Oh. So there is an adjustment right here. Let's try to get the light so you can see. There's an adjustment right here. And you can see this washer is not centered. I cannot get the light and the phone to work together here, but you can see that washer is not centered. So basically you rotate that, and that rotates this lower control arm in and out, and that will move the, trying not to use crazy overcomplicated terms, that will move the bottom of the tire in and out based off of how you turn that. And we know the bottom of our tire needs to go out. And yes, I have stuff to rebuild the front suspension with. I'm trying to get an idea of where everything needs to be, kind of doing everything. Again, you don't do things the way I do them, just gives you an idea of what I am doing. So I'm gonna make an adjustment on this to see if I can get it close, go around the block, give it time for the suspension to move and travel a little bit and settle, and see kind of the general idea of where it needs to be for when I take stuff apart. I know kind of where I need to be when I put it back together. Spend a little more time on the front end, save some time on the back end, or at least it should. We'll see. You can see, completely went the wrong way. Screwed the pooch on that one. Look at it. She's standing up straight now in attention. Yep. Yeah, baby. That's what we're after. All right. So I know these are different tires. Those numbers and all don't matter. Measured to the center of this tire, made a mark front and back. Measured to the center of this tire, made a mark front and back. Yes, they're two different tape measures, but they measure the same. I am not a professional alignment shop, nor do I pretend to be. And I know this is not gonna be just laser dead nuts on. We're trying to get it good enough so it'll drive good and not eat up tires for a week. That's all we're after. So I know these tires are pointing in a little bit, and you measure center to center of the front of the tire and center to the center of the back of the tire at the same time with this little contraption I've rigged up. And the front of the tire is 60 inches, the rear of the tire is 61 inches. So the tires are pointing in quite a bit. Now I'm using terms like pointing in and stuff like that because everybody doesn't know caster, camber, toe, and all these terminologies. And if they have heard them, they don't know exactly what they mean. So I'm not Bill Nye, the science guy. I'm not going to educate anybody. I'm just going to show you kind of what I do. So they are pointing inward just a hair. Now it's kind of true and kind of a myth, depending on what you're going to do with the car, that you want them dead nuts. Like for instance, 60 and 60. It's kind of a myth and kind of true. What I'm going to do with this for what we're doing is I'm probably, just for the sake of drivability, I'm probably going to move the tire in at the back because the steering linkage on this is in behind the tire. I'll have to double check that. I'm gonna move it in so it's 60 and a half front and back. Basically, I'm gonna take a ½ inch out of it. But before I do that, I'll pull me a string across the tires and all and try to find which one I want to move, because I'm probably only going to move one of them and help line my steering wheel up back centered so my steering wheel ain't cockeyed inside the car. It's kind of the idea. But we're almost ready for power tour. I'm still trying to figure out what I'm going to do about that noisy alternator. But as you see that, I'm pointing at this like you can see this. That wheel right there is different than all the others. Well, because I stuck that wheel on there because as you've seen the other one, Jesus was all that was holding the air in. So I'm probably going to pull, these actually have new rubber on them. So I'm going to pull the rubber off of these, off 2 of these wheels and put them on those 2 wheels so I'll have fresh rubber for the trip. But I'm trying to make sure I get the car close to lined up before I put fresh rubber on the front of it and eat a set of tires up. That's the idea. The idea right now is I'm gonna go hunt me a can of beans.
Now let's see, simmer water to gentle boil, add 3 onions, 3 carrots, and 1 rabbit.
Now that we seem to have that addressed, now we can start addressing some of the little cosmetic-y things until I can get the tires swapped around. All right, so I can't get my tires swapped out till tomorrow. So now's the time to address, you know, the important stuff. Putting some trim back on the car and you know, stuff that will definitely help us survive the road trip. So I have all the trim for the car, but I also have more trim than the car needs because, well, as you've seen, we picked up a parts car, so some of this trim we will use, some of this trim we will not use. And I'm going to figure out what's what. As far as what goes where. I don't know what that is. I think that's actually an old wiper arm. Okay, now let's figure out what trim is what. We know this is the vinyl top trim because of the way it is. And it's got the little hump doodad right there, so we just got to figure out which one's left and which one's right. And I think those just like a that. Just like a that. Just like a that. There's supposed to be a little sleeve piece here somewhere that I may have to find. Joins these 2 pieces together. I got a little sleeve here that's supposed to join these 2 pieces together. I just got to find the little sleeve. And then some of this is rear window trim. Well, the rest of this is rear window trim. It's just some of it is for this car and some of it for not this car. And we have to figure out what's what. Alright, so there's supposed to be a little sleeve here that both sides of this slide into and cover that joint. I do not have that piece. I do not have it, as in I do not own it. It is not here. It is not with the car. I don't know, it got lost in transport. I'm not sure what happened. All I can say for sure is that it's not here. Which means there's going to be a seam there that you're going to see, and there's nothing I can do about it. Nothing I can do about that. But the car is going to look better with the trim pieces on it, I think. I think my parts caliper has some clips that I can put this rear window trim in, but it was not a vinyl top car, so it does not have these pieces here on it. So, since I have taken the back glass out of that car and sold the back glass out of the parts car, I should be able to get those clips pretty easy. All right, so the parts car out there had one clip on it, so that does me no good. So we may go with no trim on it. For the most part, the car is ready to go. I gotta have the tires swapped, and I'm gonna top off, maybe change the fluid in the rear end, check transmission fluid, things of that nature, and then pack the car. We're pretty much ready to roll. I need to take it on another little test drive and make sure everything's good, but for the most part, we are ready to roll. Now it's just about gathering up a box of tools and things to have with us, and maybe some spare parts. Haven't quite decided what I'm gonna do about this alternator yet. I may pick up another one tomorrow, may not, I don't know. I probably should. In an effort to keep these videos fairly short, I'm gonna end this video. We're basically gonna call it Power Tour Day 0, because this is the last day prep for us. I'm also gonna put a rearview mirror in this thing. I am gonna grab one of those at the parts store tomorrow and put a rearview mirror in it. So the next video you see will be day 1, and it will be us loading up and getting ready to go. I want to go ahead and put this video out there so that they don't come out just laid on top of each other. They will during Power Tour. If I've got internet service, I'm going to try to do a upload every day of Power Tour. That's if I have service, Wi-Fi or whatever, to where I can upload the videos. Sometimes these videos take forever to upload. So if not, I don't know what I'll do. But hopefully we'll see y'all there. The Cougar is going to be there. I got a couple of last minute details I'm going to do to it. You know, like I said, maybe the fluid and rear end stuff. Maybe I'll swap that alternator. I'm not sure. I don't know. So now you know our plan. I am going to grab a last minute couple of items, maybe give the car a bath. I'll have the tires swapped tomorrow, and we're going to be on the road Sunday. We'll see y'all there. God bless you. Please, if you have not, please subscribe. We're so close to our 1,000 mark. When we get to that 1,000, we're going to give away an MSD distributor. There's details of that in some of the shorts. We'll go over that when we hit that 1,000. But somebody is getting a free, ready-to-run distributor. So, please hit the subscribe button. If you want to be notified of our journeys along the way, hit the little bell. And we will see you guys on the road. God bless you. Hope the Lord bless you today more than yesterday. We'll see you later.
I'd say it's a nut job.